To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land. Here age relives fond memories of the past, and here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Disneyland is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and hard facts that created America, with the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world. Hey there, hi there, ho there. Welcome back once again. I am your host, as always, JJ, and over there in the beautiful state of Disneyland,
Yes,
my good friend Nick. Nick, how are you doing?
good. It's still hilarious to me that I live 150 miles away from Disneyland, and you've been there more often than I,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you have to travel 2 states,
Yeah,
the length of 2 states, basically, to get there.
I'm a season pass holder.
You're a season pass holder.
The good
How's that
news.
working out for you?
Yeah, good news. I bought the season pass at the beginning of the year, so I got to use it once. And then everything went to hell. That's why we're doing this particular episode. I'm calling this the season 2 preview because we're wrapping up the movies. They're coming fast, and we're gonna hit the end very soon.
They're not getting any better anytime soon.
Yeah, and they're not getting any better anytime soon. And the way everything's going right now, we figured instead of sitting here and talking trash about Chicken Little, we would talk about Disneyland on our kind of grand return to form.
Yes. Spoilers. We'll be talking crap about Chicken Little.
We just haven't felt like it. It's listen. If you're listening to this in the future, I'm glad you survived.
Yes.
This nightmare. But boy, things aren't going so well right now when we're recording this in the country or the world. Without saying too much. But yeah. So we figured we needed some joy, and I thought, hey, let's just kind of do what I'm going to unofficially dub the Season 2 preview, although I guess I'm going to call it that, so I guess it's officially dubbed that at this point. Because Season 2 is going to be all about the history, chronological history of the Disney theme parks. Mostly Disneyland, because that's where the bulk of the history sort of comes from, but once you hit this, a certain point, then it starts to expand outwards. But it's heavy focus on Disneyland because that's the one. I know the ins and outs and the complete history of these theme parks. So
JJ once snuck in and spent the night.
Yeah, on Tom Sawyer Island.
Tom Sawyer Island.
Yeah, I forget what it's. I always call it Tom Sawyer's Island, although I do think it's Pirates Cove now or something. I actually forget. I don't like to call it what it really is. So.
JJ slept on a pile of the feral cats that live in Disneyland.
But yeah, we just figured this no real theme this week other than just sort of maybe personal histories with Disneyland and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely we'll start off with talking about the time you were bullied at Disneyland when I was there with you.
It's been a little over a year now.
A little over a year. We saw it around Mother's Day last year. Me and you went to Disneyland. We met up. Rode Space Mountains, Hyperspace Mountain. Survived Hyperspace Mountain, I think is probably more accurate.
So, yeah, I still think about that dude. It's like
the cast member. It's like it's only like 2.5 minutes. Are you gonna be okay?
Yeah. Because here's the thing. I'm very tall, and so is JJ.
Yeah.
And we are not what one would call svelte men.
No, we do not have. Do not have the ballerina bodies that
no.
You should
Oh.
sit side by side on a 2-person roller coaster car.
Yeah, that was it was fun. It was awesome.
Yeah, Hyperspace Mountain's great, but
yeah, it was cool.
Boy, that was uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was really, really uncomfortable. But yes, a child did bully me.
Yeah, we were eating at was it the Hungry Bear? I think it was. It was a Hungry Bear. And as we were standing up to leave, a kid just walks up to Nick and just takes the chair out from his hands and walks off with it. When I say kid, I mean, what, 6?
Had to be.
At like the oldest.
Yeah.
Just looked you right in the eyes and took the chair from your hands.
I don't think she looked me in the eye. That made it worse. She was dismissive of me as a person.
Yeah.
She was like,
You're not. You definitely don't need this.
Yeah. That was a fun trip. That
Yeah.
was the that was the first time I'd gone to Disneyland in a while where I was like, oh, I have to budget. Like,
Yeah.
nah.
And I think that's the first time you went to California Adventure, didn't you? Did you go to
Yes, it
California
is.
Adventure? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I like California Adventure. It not at first, boy howdy. Uh but I
You
liked
caught
it.
it on the early days of it being.
I was there I was there within like the first like probably 6 months of its opening.
Yeah.
Uh where it still had the Superstar limo ride, where the Monsters Inc. is now. That ride was there for less than a year, I believe. Uh, and they still have the animatronics inside that ride, just covered up as like here, like you can clearly tell it's like that's the Drew Carey animatronic that was in there that they just put the yellow hazmat Monsters Inc. hazmat suit over. Still has the same motions and everything, but
Also, still Drew Carey.
yeah, it's and I'm sure if you took the hazmat suit off, it would just be Drew Carey
Yeah,
underneath.
well, the points don't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, California Adventure was nice. I do remember it. I think I was at Disneyland like shortly after it opened
Yeah.
with my family, and my dad being outraged that they were going to charge him more money if
Yeah,
we go to the other park.
because like now it's common, like if you get your Disneyland ticket, more often than not you're going to get the park hopper, which
Yeah,
lets you jump between the two. Back then that wasn't an option, so you had to buy two separate tickets at full price. So if you wanted to go to Disneyland, you had to get a Disneyland ticket. If you wanted to go to California Adventure, you had to get a California Adventure ticket. You could still do it that way, but you're paying like there's no discount involved, and the price they charge to just get in the California Adventure, not really worth it even to this day. Maybe after the Marvel Land opens and it sort of diversifies a little more,
sure.
I can see that. But like, especially back in the early days, California Adventure was just sort of, I don't know, it wasn't barren, but like it didn't feel like it was a Disney theme park, and for various reasons. We'll get
Right.
into the history of it when we actually start the season, but all the rides were California themed. You would enter in through like the main entrance, and there was like the shopping center was like one side was based off of a train car, so like you would enter in through a train car and all that stuff,
Mhm.
and the other side it was just shops, and it's you go through and it's playing like uh, I don't know, like poppy upbeat versions of like on like organ music of like old California bass. So it's like you know California Dreamin' and all that stuff was like playing overhead in just simple organ music, and it was just like not felt weird. And the main centerpiece was this weird fountain with a giant sun.
Okay.
Yeah, and like because they're other than like Grizzly River Run.
Hmm.
They didn't really have any sort of like the iconography of California Adventure was the main entrance, which was the letters of California, giant letters. So if you took
Yeah.
a photo in front of the main gates with those things, it looked like a big postcard that you would send. That was the design aesthetic, was California postcard of the main entrance to California Adventure. Um, yeah, just not like it was bad theming from left to right, and it's kind of funny to see like how little of that theming still exists. Um, Condor Flats is sort of still there in a sense, and that's where Soren is, and the Grizzly River Run rests, and that's sort of the most untouched of California Adventure because it was only two things, and the theming is really solid. Uh,
Yeah, it's pretty much Bug or Pixar now and Marvel.
yeah, so you have what used to be Paradise Pier, which was a designed to look like the San Francisco Pier area kind of thing, where
Hmm.
it was just like you know that kind of stuff, and it was just everything was sort of really themed around a pier. Like it had boardwalk games, and it had a roller coaster, like a very simple
That's
roller
still
coaster.
there.
The roller coaster's still there. It's now, but now it's all Pixar themed. So it's still all, and it's Pixar Pier, so it's all vaguely pier themed still, but they changed almost everything. Like so, it's like the Incredicoaster. They took the giant Mickey iconography out of the um, Ferris wheel, and made it all Mickey themed to that Pixar stuff. It's a very good Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
It has stationary cars and cars on a track that kind of swing back and forth while you're going around. There used to be a ride there called the Malaboomer, and it was themed like one of those mallet games, where you hit it and it goes up and you try to hit the bell.
Yeah.
That's what its visual theming was, and
Like the strongman thing.
yeah, the strongman thing, and it was just one of those typical um, air shot rides. So it just shot you up and dropped you, and that was it. And it was like everything was sort of very off the rack kind of theme park stuff, which goes against everything that sort of like Disneyland really wanted. Like the most off the rack thing they had at Disneyland was the carousel, but they still put a lot of work in the carousel at Disneyland. Everything else was sort of engineered specifically to be sort of Disney-fied, but like these rides and the swings. Back now, it's the Silly Symphony swings.
Mm-hmm.
It's Mickey's based on Mickey's bandstand.
Right.
But back then, it was called the Orange Stinger, and it was took place in a giant orange that smelled like oranges inside, and you spun around in sort of a beehive theme. Like there was like Flight of the Bumblebee playing, and in like the first like week or so, it actually had bee-shaped cars or seats that you would sit in, but they were fiberglass, and you know how swing rides are.
Right.
They would bump into each other, and that wasn't good for the body. So just
that'd be fine.
The one thing I remember about the Malaboomer so much was they put plastic shields in front of your face, so when you're sitting there, there's a big giant. It looks like you're in like a spaceman's helmet.
Mm-hmm.
But you're in the middle of Southern California on sort of like with no coverage, so you could actually see where the harness was getting burned from those plastic shields, and they were constantly like towards the end of its life, they were like spraying down with water bottles where it was getting hot there from the refraction of the sunlight into the harness you were locking yourself into.
So it's the thing like where Woody lights the rocket with Buzz Lightyear's helmet.
Yes, it's exactly that.
Yeah.
And the only reason so a lot of people don't know that, but the reason it had that, and why the roller coaster has like those half tubes on it,
mm-hmm.
is because Disney has to follow strict noise ordinances. And so so the face shield and those tubes are like, because they're sort of like facing the freeway, that they're supposed to diminish sound that's coming out.
Yeah.
So that's why those are there, because Disney has to follow, especially where they're at. There's strict noise ordinances right there because they're on the freeway. Those parts are on the freeway.
I still don't know that California Adventure's worth the price of admission as is, but I will tell you this. If they said, hey, you can pay like $40 and just go watch World of Color, I would totally do it.
World of Color is one of Disney's better shows.
It made my wife cry.
It's very emotional. I'll give it that. There's some stuff there. Like Fantasmic is a bigger show, but I don't like the musical quality of World of Color, and the sort of like the effects that they're doing and stuff are way more interesting, I think. Fantasmic has had to take some cues from World of Color to like help improve their projection stuff and things. So.
But it's just like the way they get the fountains to do what they got to do.
It's something else. I absolutely love World of Color, and I highly recommend going seeing that. Like anytime anyone's like going to Disneyland, like because everyone will come to me with like, so what do we got to do?
That's what you do.
World of Color is always like, I put that above like Fantasmic, or like it's like I would even say like go see World of Color over the fireworks if you only get to choose one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because like I think their current fireworks show is lacking. I used to love for the 50th anniversary. That was the best fireworks show they've ever done. Just like Imagine Dreams Come True. Yeah, Imagine. Yeah. But it was a great fireworks show.
Didn't so like when he first was Tower of Terror there when he first opened, or no?
No, that came much later. Within like a few years later. And it's it's Guardians of the Galaxy themed now.
Which broke when I rode on it.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I love that ride. I like the theming of the. Uh, when that happened, when they did the changeover from Twilight Zone to Guardians of the Galaxy, it caused a lot of commotion amongst the Disney theme park regulars. But I never really thought. I love Tower of Terror, but like it was like a half-assed version of the Florida version,
Mm.
and it just felt like, you know, changing it to be its own thing, have its own identity, on top of not having to pay, licensing for Twilight Zone anymore. For that side.
And that was the appeal for me. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to go on that ride,
Yeah.
is because I'm like you, I'm a big Twilight Zone nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was really cool to have sort of like, they took like old Rod Serling footage and sort of made a new thing out of it, and like they dubbed over him with a new voice and stuff, but it sounded really good, and it was just kind of fun to see like this is like new Rod Serling stuff, and it was really good.
Yeah.
But
And
the Florida one actually has a moving car that the Disneyland one doesn't have, where it's like you're put into the service elevator, and to get you to the tower part, it actually goes along a track like you're going through the opening scene of the TV show.
oh, nice.
So yeah, it was really cool. And then they put you in the place, and then you do the and it's a more intense drop in Florida. It's a really good version. It's so much better that I'm glad that they've carved its own identity in California, because I would never be able to enjoy the Twilight Zone at California again, because the Florida one is such a vast improvement, which is a rarity, because mostly the Florida stuff is sort of like Pirates of the Caribbean is exponentially worse at Florida than it is at Disneyland, because it's shorter and it kind of goes like in a weird order. Like you're not it goes like in reverse order. Like you're going from pirates to skeletons, as opposed to like you're traveling backwards through time of the real quote unquote ride at Disneyland.
Does it have the same smell?
Of course.
Okay. I don't know what that pirate's smell is.
I do.
What is it?
It's bromine.
What is bromine? Besides,
because they can't use chlorine in the water, they use bromine instead. Because chlorine is very harsh, and because you're going to be splashing it around on people, and more people are going to be sensitive to chlorine than bromine, they use bromine in their water rides.
And there's literally a restaurant right next to the ride too.
Yeah, yeah. So
inside of it, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so if it was just chlorine, it would just be a disaster. So they needed to find something that was less invasive, and bromine was the solution. So that's a chemistry joke. Bromine was the solution. I'm a chemist, people.
Yeah. I'm a chemist. Back off, man.
Yeah, back off. I'm a scientist.
Yeah. Yeah, because the other appeal for me at one point with California Adventures was where they stuck Main Street for a little bit.
Yeah, the Main Street Electrical Parade was there for
a spell. Sad when it was gone.
Yeah, of course they didn't call it the Main Street Electrical Parade, because there is no Main Street at California Adventure. It was just the Electrical Parade.
But that's what it was.
Yeah, it was the Main Street Electrical. I actually got to see that. I never got to see the original Main Street Electrical Parade. But I did get to see the California Adventure version, so I was very happy about that.
I've seen it twice. I saw it, originally twice.
And they brought it back recently, but I didn't get an opportunity to take a trip down to see the revival of the Main Street Electrical Parade, but it's gonna come back. I mean, that's just how this works. When they need to get guests in the park, they're gonna dust off some classics, and I got a feeling in next year they're going to need to dust off some stuff to get people into the theme parks.
Perhaps as early as this fall.
Yeah. So I could see Main Street coming back. We're technically in a few weeks. Disney was supposed to be launching their new land at California Adventure, Ventures Academy. But obviously, at this stage in history, that's not happening. And I don't know where construction is on it right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've been continuing construction. I know recently construction, there's been photos of them like kind of starting those wheels in motion again fully. But yeah, I don't know. I'll be interested to see when that opens now. It seemed interesting. Um, but Disney hasn't had the Star Wars launch was pathetic, I think, to say. Because when we went, it was only like a couple of weeks away from opening.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when I booked the trip, it was sort of by design. I was like, well, I can go for my birthday. I can take my mom with me, make it a double Mother's Day birthday thing. And I'll beat the crowds that are going to come in for Star Wars Land. And turns out there were no crowds for Star Wars Land. Um, and that was, May, that it opened in the third week of May, and sort of through summer, uh, it stayed dead.
I think the messaging that got out there didn't help it. Whereas like it's gonna be like a 4 hour wait to get on
Yeah,
it.
they
And like people were like,
scared everyone. They scared everyone ahead of time. They weren't going for like they did the staggered launch, which also doesn't help. It's like it's opening, it's not complete. There's a whole nother ride that's not open yet, and won't open for another year, almost year, and it's not open in Florida yet. That we're gonna open that in the fall of this year as opposed to whatever, and it just sort of everything fell off the rails for that launching, and it's not to say that the land is bad. I actually really, really like the land. I got to see it in February when I went, just as the world was falling apart. But the overall, it's an incredible land. Um, Everything is almost too in theme that it's embarrassing, but at the same time, like I appreciate it. It's a very Disney's kind of thing to do, especially early Disney. But like, yeah, there's no, that'll be $5.99. It's like 5.99 credits, and there's no good morning or good night or
yeah.
whatever. It's all like rising suns, till the spire and stuff like that. All the like Coke come in. Coke is more expensive in that part of the land, and comes in thermal detonator bottles. All the food is themed in a weird way. It makes it kind of weird, hard to order stuff. So you got to sort of decipher the codes.
I'll have the baby brains.
Yeah,
Wow.
ma'am, you sicken me.
Well, the funny thing is like how they kind of stick to their script is when do you remember when they had the Hall of Armor?
Yeah, yeah,
And I went looking for it like not the last time I was with
yeah,
you,
yeah.
but before that, and I was like, oh, it's probably still here. And it was Star Wars, and I said, hey, the Hall of Armor. And he goes, oh, and the guy looks at me straight face and goes, Mr. Stark is taking his armor back to.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
huh? Oh,
Well, it's like when you're trying
oh,
to
we're doing
buy
a
like,
thing here. We're doing a
yeah.
bit.
Oh, this is a bit. Okay.
Yeah.
um, they did like when you're trying to do the lightsaber stuff, and it's like you don't really know where anything is, especially if it's your first time,
Mm-hmm.
and like you can't like ask anyone and get a straight answer. I'm trying to find. I have a reservation to go build a lightsaber. Please just tell me where that is. Don't tell me that. Oh, you're looking for scrap or whatever. Like just take me there, please.
Yeah.
There's a learning curve. They're gonna learn eventually what the. There's some things that it's okay to just sort of
Yeah.
ease up on a little bit, I think. But yeah,
Say,
um,
could you want a scoop of bantha poodoo?
yeah.
Talk about that.
But yeah, I did. I did everything that there was to do there except build a droid. I built the lightsaber. I went to Oga's Cantina, which is a very weird thing. Like it's expensive. You have to make a reservation, and you have to wait in line, and you're only allowed to be in there for 45 minutes, and you can only order 2 drinks. That's not 2 alcoholic drinks. That's just 2 drinks. Whether it be alcoholic or non-alcoholic. It's just the weirdest
That
thing.
seems really. Uh,
Yeah. And like and you get like 1 food item, but they don't really have food. They have like if you're there for breakfast, they have a cinnamon roll, but they don't call it a cinnamon roll. It's like I forget. It's like a kashyyyk something or some nonsense.
it's like
And
figure your crap out.
yeah, yeah. But like Smuggler's Run is a really good video game made by Rockstar at the launch of the PlayStation 2. But it's also a really good Disneyland ride. Um, it's basically Star Tours with some interactive elements. Um, and it's so weird. It's like 6 people at a time. That's it. That's the most you can have per ride vehicle. And they have a single rider line, but I think they're gonna get. I don't know if they'll get rid of the single rider line because it doesn't have Fast Pass, but I know they're introducing Fast Pass to it soon. And I feel like the Fast Pass line will be the single rider line. But there was no wait time for me at any time for Smuggler's Run.
Like, sorry, lonely person.
Yeah.
Forget you.
Yeah. So when you do single rider, you end up being sort of in, like the seat filler. So you're at the back. So you basically always get engineer, which really just has you like pushing some buttons on the side and stuff. I did get to do one time the person didn't want to be the pilot seat, so like, do you want to swap? You got gunner. You want to swap? I was like, yeah, I'll swap. So I got to actually pull the lever to throw the Millennium Falcon into hyperspace, and it was an experience. It's an emotional experience, to say the least.
Duh.
Yeah. But Rise of the Resistance, that is one of Disney's best rides they've ever created. I actually did get teary-eyed in that ride because it's so big and it's so incredible. Like, the first time you ride it, there's nothing that you can sort of prepare you for, like, how big that ride is from start to finish. It's like a 20-minute ride from, like, beginning to end, and it is something else. And it's hard to get on that ride.
Is it? It's a heck of a wait, or what?
It's a virtual queue. There is no normal queue. When Disneyland opens, you have to be on the app and join the queue. And like, I was there 3 days. I got to ride it twice. I didn't get in the first time because my plane like arrived too late.
Mm-hmm.
So it was already by like 8:02. It's like if the park opens at 8, by 8:02 booked for the rest of the day. And I like, both times I didn't get on that ride until like 5-6 o'clock, and I had been there at rope drop. So it behooves you to get into the park early because you can only do it once you're inside. Once your ticket's been scanned and you're inside the park, it's the only way you can get your reservation to get on that ride. So
if you're not the first person in line,
yeah. So that's why you have to get because they kind of open the gates and let people in, early. Usually,
right.
Like if it opens at 8, you'll be in at they'll open the gates and you can start filling in at like 7:30 or whatever. So the earlier there, the better, but just because you're there early doesn't guarantee it, because everyone's in at the same time, basically. You just have to make sure that your ticket is scanned, and that's the only way you're gonna sort of have your opportunity. But there's no favoritism. But
there should be.
Yeah, there should be.
You're talking about like eating breakfast at there. I was like, so why would you not eat at Carnation Cafe if you're eating breakfast at Disneyland?
Yeah, I know.
Why would you not eat at Carnation?
Yeah, no, you eat at There's two things you do for breakfast. You eat at Carnation Cafe, or you go to the Practical. I forget what is the. Because I still call it the Blue Ribbon Bakery because that's what the Main Street Bakery was.
It's the Mary Poppins one down.
Yeah, but now it's the Mary Poppins one. It used to be the Plaza Inn.
The place that made you wait way too long for a sandwich.
Yeah. And still a pretty long wait there, but you go there and you get like a cinnamon roll because it's Disneyland makes.
Was it sandwich or hot chocolate you were waiting forever for?
It was a sandwich. I was waiting for a grilled cheese sandwich to come. You were waiting for the hot chocolate or the
the hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate because your wife wanted the cup, didn't she? She wanted
the
special one.
She wanted the special bug.
Yeah.
But yeah, Carnation. Oh my god, I don't know where they get the bacon from for Carnation Cafe.
The Three Little Pigs.
It is possibly the best bacon I've ever eaten.
That's the thing. Like, all the sit-down restaurants at Disney are all like top-tier restaurants. It's the weirdest thing. Like, it's so funny, and I joke about it constantly that Disneyland has some of the they have top-tier chefs, some of the best in the world across all their theme parks. Cannot for the life of them figure out how to make a pizza. Every pizza there is just terrible. It's just like this bready school cafeteria nonsense, and I hate it. You have to go to downtown Disney at Disneyland.
Yes,
like they have that
weird kind of
Napolini.
Yeah.
where it's a very traditional pizza. It's not the kind of pizza you really want, but at the same time, it's perfectly acceptable pizza.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I forget what the name of it was, but I guess we'll be talking about food now.
yeah. This is the food section of this
This is the
episode
food section,
because that's honestly the most important part of the Disney theme park experience.
kind of. I mean, remember that Jim Gaffigan bit where he's like, "You go to Disneyland, you're like, oh, we just had 8. We should probably walk around a bit and then get a bite to eat. And after that, we should probably have
Yeah,
some bacon." Which is uh, never had popcorn better in my life.
it's the most comforting popcorn on the planet. I don't know. Yeah, it's
It
great
is.
popcorn.
I've told somebody it was life changing popcorn.
Yeah, that's true. And it's also like if you're hungry but don't know what to grab, always grab the popcorn
Yep.
because it really motivates you to keep going.
Yeah.
And they always sell like get the plastic bucket
Yep.
because you get refills for like $1.50, and that's like the cheapest thing in the theme park. So
Of course, you can't talk about Disneyland food without
I know where you're going.
the corn dogs.
The corn dogs.
Corn dogs.
The little red corn dog cart on Main Street.
Oh my gosh! It's pretty much like, hey, do you want a corn dog and chips? Because that's all we got.
Yeah, we've got 3 things. We've got corn dog, we got chips, and we've
drinks.
got Coke products.
Yep.
You get to have those 3, and that's in a meal, and that's your only option. You don't want the chips? Too bad. You're getting the chips.
Give the chips to somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% like. What's the name of the place where you get the fried chicken?
There's a couple of places where you get fried chicken.
Is it the Blue Bayou?
Blue Bayou is the one inside of Pirates of the Caribbean.
No, okay, it's not the. It's the banquet style one.
Yeah. What's the? See,
It's down by New Orleans Square.
Yeah, the what is it called? Damn, now you're making me feel like a.
It's like you get fried chicken or pot roast.
Yeah, what is it? Oh shoot. And it's sponsored by like Stouffer's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
French
Market.
French Market. Okay.
Yeah.
I 100% have eaten dinner at the French Market, got the pot roast, and then go like, all right, time we get a corn dog now.
I've eaten in the Blue Bayou restaurant once. That's the one that's in Pirates of the Caribbean. It is definitely not. I'm not a big seafood guy, like at all. And that's basically what you're getting in there.
You got some stale Tic Tacs in your purse that you can have.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take the table bread and a Coke, please. Yeah, that's man. New Orleans Square, we're at the French Market, and Blue Bayou has one of my favorite Disney snacks, beignets at the Mint Julep bar.
Oh, I've never had one with her.
Oh, you gotta get the beignets. Last time I was there, they always have normal beignets and then like a flavor of the season beignets. And they make them, they're fresh, they're hot. When you get the bag, they're still warm, and the powdered sugar is kind of coagulating and melting just a little bit because they just came out of the oil or whatever from the deep frying these donuts, Mickey shaped donuts. And they're great. Last time I was there, it was chocolate strawberry was the special flavor.
Oh,
so
yeah.
But,
Oh man, so yeah, it's for me. A lot of it is I like to eat at Disneyland. I like to eat in general, but you feel justified because you're doing so much walking.
Yeah, like as a diabetic, I feel okay. Just like I'm gonna get a churro now because I've done more walking today than I have done in the past 6 months, and I've earned this.
Yes. When I met you there, I know like one of my things was like, well, I have Pokemon Go running, so it's telling me I've walked quite a bit.
Yeah, my Apple Watch, those rings are closed before lunch, so I feel okay. It was so funny at Disney World when I did Disney World because like my Apple Watch was like getting mad at me after the trip was done because you do a lot of walking at Disneyland, but you do like 3 times as much walking in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And like my watch was like, "Hey man, you can keep the streak going," and it's like, "Nah, I'm done." If I didn't have to walk for the rest of the year, I wouldn't. But here
Fucking kids get a rascal scooter.
Yeah, be like from like the fat people in Up, just in the little hover scooters.
Um, so, do you want to talk about our first memories of going to, or like, earliest memories of Disneyland?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have mine. Kind of is like a double whammy,
Go
a
ahead.
little bit, because I went to Disneyland, went in '89 when I was just, you know, I'm not even in school yet. And I
Right.
still have the ticket to that. It's like $20 for a day entrance into Disneyland in '89, maybe '88. Um, Late '88, early '89. I was just super young, and I have just vague memories of it. The thing I remember most though is that I had an ear infection and was on an airplane. That's the, so that was good for everyone else on the plane. But I do remember meeting Mickey Mouse because it was very important to my parents that I get a picture with Mickey Mouse, and I remember not going into Captain EO because of my ear infection and it was too loud. But I have a picture of me in the Captain EO 3D glasses. And I very much remember Autopia
Yeah.
because it was hilarious because I was like sitting there and it's like, don't bump into anyone. And of course, as a, 3 or 4 year old, you're like, okay, bump into people.
What, do the exact opposite? Yes.
Yeah. But it was my cousin, so it was okay.
Yeah.
But like, Disneyland really started for me in like 97, 98. Like,
Hmm.
just before the '98 expansion, where they changed Tomorrowland around and brought in all the new stuff, and painted it the most god awful copper color imaginable, um, and put in one of their top 5 worst rides of all time. Uh, but like yeah, around then, and it's been kind of nonstop since like that era, '97, '98. It's been almost like once a trip every year since then.
At least
At
once.
least a trip. The years where I didn't take a trip, it's made up for because we went like 2 times a year or something. So it's pretty consistent. Like you could probably do the math and decide since '98 at least, or like at the latest is '98, maybe '97, but yeah, it's been just every year. Like,
About 40 times. So,
yeah, yeah, I would say so. So
uh, I like you. My first trip, I was little. I don't remember much about it.
yeah,
I remember quite a bit about my second trip.
yeah.
Uh, Apparently,
My
I was insufferable. This would have been 80. This would have been 87,
yeah.
86, 87. My mom tell the story that I was a living nightmare, and then they bought me a plush Pluto, and I was good as gold the rest
Oh
of the
man.
time.
Uh, that early trip that first Disneyland trip, we also went to SeaWorld that year.
Oh
That's the
wow,
only time I've ever been to SeaWorld.
yeah.
I do not condone the practices of SeaWorld, so given the option, I still don't go to SeaWorld. Even though I love aquariums. I love aquariums. I'll go to any of... If there's an aquarium, I'm going to go to it. But I don't really count SeaWorld as an aquarium
No,
anymore. uh, but,
but I do remember the copper thing you're talking about Tomorrowland because one of the trips I remember most is we went there for grad night
yeah.
in June of '98. So that's been about 22 years
Yeah.
ago now.
So like brand new Tomorrowland '98.
Yeah, and like this is a slice of like how 1998 this was.
Yeah.
So we get there and there's like they have a dance floor, they have a dance party going on for grad night. And,
Videopolis.
yeah, and well, yeah, it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
And there's a live DJ there. He's playing "Fly" by Sugar Ray.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Uh,
Yeah, when we like, I what by the time I really considered that era my like actual like first trip
yeah.
because and I was a teenager by then, so I was in like it was like freshman in high school then, so it was there was no chance for me to be. It's insufferable in the sense of how teens can be insufferable, but
Yeah.
I wasn't really that kind of teen. So like me and my parents have always gotten along, and there wasn't really much of a issue. There was never any issue.
Yeah.
At Disneyland, it's exciting.
What
First,
I mean,
yeah, I didn't really go on roller coasters as a kid, so like Space Mountain being something that I rode was like, I wouldn't even go on like the roller coaster that was like at the county fair because I was afraid of them. And so, but
It was a good cause.
yeah, but
Yeah, no, I very distinctly remember that grad night getting on Big Thunder Mountain, and the dude in front of me had a rolled joint behind his ear, and decided to light up on the ride.
nice,
So everybody
nice.
was just getting a contact high.
Get a contact high at Disneyland. That's
Yeah.
one year. Me and my mom went to my one of my mom's favorite rides at Disneyland is Peter Pan's Flight.
Mm-hmm.
So we we got to uh, the exit of Peter Pan's Flight because she um, gets like the medical pass, so you can get
Right.
in because she's got some stuff. And so we're just sitting at the exit waiting to go on, and like this guy leaves, and we both look at each other like, "Whew, boy, that guy's having a good time," because he just reeked of pot. You just smell the smell of pot, and then the
Mm-hmm.
ride shuts down, uh, and they're
Oh,
kicking everyone out. It's because that guy was hotboxing Peter Pan's Flight, basically.
yeah. Hey, it's magic pixie dust.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, it's one of those stories that me and my mom love to tell
Yeah.
because it's just the silliest thing. Like, we didn't get to ride Peter Pan's Flight because somebody got super high in the entire ride and they had to kick everyone out and shut down the ride.
I've told you how my youngest son almost got us kicked out of Disneyland for constantly stepping on Donald's foot.
Oh, yeah.
And the attendant's like, son, quick. It's like, he's special needs lady. And he just like, oh, it's a foot. It's a duck foot. I'm going to step on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Poor Donald. He's just
Yeah.
out there. He's just trying to make the best of a day, of a hot day
He's
in
just doing
California in his
he's just
suit.
doing his best.
Doing his bit.
Yeah. I will say though, like, they do a really good job because we went to town hall. It's like, hey, our kids are both on the spectrum. What can we do? And they said, well, just let us know. Everything was cool until I foolishly took them on the Roger Rabbit ride.
Oh no. That's that is audio visual experience for
Yeah,
yeah.
because my thinking was, oh, Toontown's safe.
Yeah. That's, that was a bad call, I guess.
Yeah, I'd never been on that ride before, so I don't know.
For people that don't know, Roger Rabbit's Spin is very much a live action cartoon with spinning taxi cabs like the teacups. Uh,
Yeah,
so,
and a lot of banging and
yeah. There's, so, it's one of those things where it's like when we get to it, we get to it, but we could talk about some of this stuff now. Like, um, Roger Rabbit's cartoon Spin has this very interesting history where not a lot of death has happened at Disneyland, but some has. Some of it incredibly tragic. Some of it is just a bunch of idiots being idiots. A lot of the rides that cause deaths really aren't there any. Like, the People Mover killed a lot of
Mhm.
people because it was a bunch of drunk high schoolers trying to leap from car to car during grad night or whatever. Um, Roger Rabbit, a young child died on Roger Rabbit's cartoon Spin because he got out of the car and onto the track, and the cars are always moving, just like the Haunted Mansion and stuff.
right.
So Roger Rabbit's cartoon Spin goes down a lot because if anything touches the floor, it shuts the ride down by default because of that. So that's why there's a lot of downtime on Roger Rabbit's cartoon Spin and why it's got such long wait times for the most part.
Yeah.
One, because it's one of the only there's like two rides in Toontown, and that's the only good one. And second is because there's a lot of downtime because it has a very sensitive security safety measure to make sure that that situation doesn't happen again.
So basically, if your hat flies off,
Yeah, if your hat flies off and hits the ground, it's going to shut the ride down.
yeah.
If you have your something in your hand and you just drop it by accident, like you're not keeping your hands and feet inside the car at all times, you're gonna cause a shutdown. So yeah,
and everyone will hate you.
yeah, and everyone will hate you because they just waited 65 minutes to ride this. It's a good ride, but it's not, and it's not that worth
My,
the
my,
move.
my view of the ride's a bit tainted now.
Yeah. Yeah, the only other ride over there is Gadget's Go Coaster. And I think we were talking about it when we were there, and I'm like, I don't know what that roller coaster means to, like, modern youth, because, like, that roller coaster came out when Disney Afternoon was still sort of a thing,
Yeah.
and so like Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers was still very popular.
Like, who's Gadget?
Yeah, but now there's like, if it weren't for the fact that they're bringing back the Rescue Rangers, um,
They're
yeah,
sneaking into the new DuckTales cartoon, I believe,
yeah,
and it's on Disney Plus,
yeah.
obviously.
So yeah, so
But yeah, um, I
Toontown
don't know.
needs help, a lot of
Yeah,
help. It used to have a trolley that kind of circled around Toontown, and it was kind of like a cartoon trolley, so it was like wobbly and stuff. And they got rid of
yeah.
that completely. It needs a fresh coat of paint. It's starting to look a little drab. It's the one place you go if you want to meet characters. That's sort of its point at this point in time. They are adding a new ride there finally. So there is a new ride coming to Toontown, and it's the Runaway Railway that
Okay.
just recently opened in the the movie studios section of Florida. So
The
fine,
Runaway Train thing.
yeah, Mickey's Runaway
Yeah,
Railroad. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Is it based
So
off that one short with him and Minnie in
nah,
the one
nah, not
part?
really, not really.
Okay.
Similar. I mean, it's clearly inspiration, but not really based off of it. And it's a trackless system, which is really cool. It's a new, kind of a that the Star Wars: Rise of the Resistance is a trackless ride too. So there's no track that you can visibly see on there. So clearly, so it can kind of have more free range of motion and
Hmm.
stuff while it's in the ride. Because I don't know exactly. I've never looked it up. But I'm going to assume the answer is magnets in some way, shape, or form.
The answer is magnet. It
Yeah.
seems to be running on some form of electricity.
uh, but yeah, so I'm excited for that. But that's a long ways away. Disneyland is sort of like, if it wasn't for the Star Wars situation, like Disneyland itself has sort of fallen into like a stagnant state. So the Star Wars stuff was cool that they brought in some new stuff, but
Do you think
Tomorrowland
they need
is.
more property?
I, I don't know if that's the answer. I think they just need to expand, like retool some stuff, man.
Yeah.
Tomorrowland in particular, like if you just did some stuff over at Tomorrowland, I think you could. There's so much room for improvement over there at this point. A lot of empty space, or like you go to Tomorrowland and like the Magic Eye Theater, which is the theater you would go into to see Captain EO or Honey I Shrunk
Right.
the Audience, is now just like a Pixar short film fest, or it's like playing trailers for upcoming Pixar movies or whatever. So it's just like this wasted space where you could just keep Captain EO going or bring back Honey I Shrunk the Audience, but and maybe they will when that new series pops up that Shrunk. Um,
Bring back Videopolis.
yeah, bring back video.
I'm
Uh,
seriously. I mean, I
yeah,
would
I mean, like,
if they brought it back, like it said, hey, it's gonna be 80s themed,
yeah,
and we're gonna do it for like a month.
like,
I would totally go to that.
like Launch Bay, the Star Wars Launch Bay, which at the point when you went looked for the Tony's Hall of Armor,
Yeah.
that's a huge chunk of property that's just sort of going wasted for an oversized gift shop.
Yeah.
Because it works as two things. It's where you can go and buy Star Wars stuff in Disneyland, which you can still do with the exit of Star Tours, and it's a
Or
meet and
literally
greet.
anywhere other shop.
Yeah, or it's a meet and greet for Star Wars characters. And I get not wanting to do the meet and greet aspect at um, Galaxy's Edge because it
Hmm.
takes place in a specific time, and having Darth Vader there wouldn't make any sense, or Boba Fett or whatever. But and they don't really do meet and greets in Galaxy's Edge right now. They just have the characters sort of existing in the universe. So you're just walking around and there's Rey, or you're walking around and there's Kylo, and they never really cross paths. It just depends on where you are in the park. But it's not like, oh, Rey's gonna be here at 6:30. If you want your photo taken with her, come and come see her or something. It doesn't work that way there. But it should. At some point, that they're gonna have to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a mistake. Like, knowing what we know now and how the Disney trilogy was received overall. Like, I love all three of those movies. I love every Star Wars movie.
Right.
um, but there was such a toxic relationship with those movies that people have, and the sort of, and especially the last one that came out, like the people that you had won over as fans sort of turned against it and stuff, and to set the movie in sort of that time frame, or set the land in sort of that time frame, will probably do more harm than good in the longevity of Star Wars. Like if it was set on Tatooine, at least then it would have been like timeless. But I don't
But
think it's going to be timeless set in the era that it's set in now. In 15 years, I don't think it's going to stand.
it'll revert back to the Lucas
Yeah,
trilogy.
they'll figure out a way. I mean, which will be weird because they're going to have to. They're either going to have to loosen up what the definition of this what's going on there, and just treat it as Star Wars themed land, because like Rise of the Empire is an expensive, elaborate ride that you will have to change a lot of it to sort of fit. Well, not really that much, but enough to sort of have to change. Like, oh, this you're on Tatooine, but Darth Vader's over here, but now you're in the middle of the Resistance, and there's Kylo Ren, and it'll be weird. And Smuggler's Run can take place anytime. It's any stinking time.
I know, I get it,
Yeah,
but at the same
yeah,
time, you have like like you have other characters like, oh, look, there's Mickey and also like Mary Poppins
yeah,
within like
yeah,
what like it's fine, just
yeah.
like have them all in there.
People. I think like I think that's just sort of the sort of hint as to like what some of these people in charge think of when like when Walt was talking about sort of the show, as opposed to like that's their interpretation of it and it's wrong.
Right.
But like at least they committed to it, but I don't it's gonna hurt it in the long run, I think. So
I wanted to put a Sarlacc pet in there.
they actually have a big model of a Sarlacc in one of the shops where it shows you like it's like this glass cutout, so it shows you the body of the Sarlacc
Mm-hmm.
and the top layer. It's like a terrarium for a Sarlacc. It's really neat because I've never really seen a Sarlacc what like its body looks like, so never really went out of my way to look that up. But canonically, now I know what the Sarlacc looks like.
There used to be an arcade over Tomorrowland too, right? It
An
wasn't
arcade.
Videopolis, but it was
There was the Starcade
the Starcade.
was over there at sort of like kind of connected to the gift shop at the exit of Star Tours. It's like in
Yeah.
that area. It was still up and running when Wreck-It Ralph came out, but they just sort of like stripped it down and just made it like Wreck-It Ralph arcade cabinets and a couple of other random 80s ones and stuff. But
I think that should come back.
I think it should too. It's kind of, again, it's another one of those like wasted space at
Yeah.
Disney. There's a lot of Tomorrowland in particular has a lot of wasted space. Like as we were saying, that Star Wars Launch Bay, it used to be Innovations.
Yes.
And like it was like the Carousel of Progress and
Hmm.
things like that. It's this thing that exists over there that's been a million things, and now it's kind of nothing. It's
It's
just
like a
a gift shop.
big auditorium almost. That's just
Yeah, and it's like 2 floors, and you only have access to one, and it's kind of like it's an ideal spot for something, anything, but
right.
so you got that. Like the restaurants isn't like it's because it's a pizza place that it's so busy popular, but like that needs to be rebranded entirely at some point. Um,
Here's what I. By the way, that pizza place, that pizza is
it's
gross.
terrible. It's
It is gross pizza.
it's bad.
It's the Buzz Lightyear pizza place, is it, or something like
I
that?
forget what it's called now. It used to be like Pizza Port, and it might still be Pizza
Pizza
Port.
Planet.
Pizza, but I don't think. I was thinking because I was like, is it the? Yeah, because what was it in Toy Story?
It's Pizza Planet.
It was Pizza Planet. I think
Yeah,
it started off as Pizza Planet, but I think they changed it at some point to Pizza Port or something. So
but it's
it's
still. I think it still has that branding. But yeah,
yeah.
that pizza is not good.
Nope. 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 Nope.
You know what is good, which I hadn't had one in years, and you told me about how you can just order Dole Whips ahead of time on the app.
Yeah. The Dole Whip in Adventureland is it's by the way it's Red Rocket's Pizza Port.
Oh, okay.
So it is Pizza Port.
But it was
Um,
Pizza Planet at some point, right?
At some point, I feel like it was. That feels right to me. Um, Boy, looking at this, it certainly doesn't look like it. Uh, we just all remember it as Pizza Planet, but
Yeah.
uh,
I remember like the little green aliens being in there, in the decor somewhere.
yeah. Um, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, it is Pizza Planet now. It was Red Rocket's Pizza Port. It reopened in 2018 as Pizza Planet because they did a Pixar thing, and so
Yeah,
it was Pizza Planet.
I
Yeah,
was like, I think it was Pizza
yeah,
Planet when we were there
yeah. Well,
last year.
it was, but it was under the vision barriers. They were
Hmm.
working on it when we were there, so it wasn't really. It was probably Pizza Planet, but there was no like visual cues because it just
Right,
had
right.
the barriers up in front of it because they were working on it.
Do you think so they have that vacant space now that they bought more 20th Century Fox, that they bought 20th Century Fox,
Yeah,
could they incorporate some of those properties in there?
I don't think they would.
Would you like a Nostromo that you could walk through?
Obviously, the answer to that is yes,
Yes.
but I don't see them doing anything else. It would be nice, but
Would that be an Orlando thing, maybe?
yeah, because where the Mickey's Runaway Railroad, or Railway, or whatever it is at Florida is, it used to be the Great Movie Ride, and it actually
Mm-hmm.
had alien stuff in that ride before they ever bought Fox.
Mm.
And there was going to be the early stages of like the extraterrestrial experience or whatever it was at
Mm.
Tomorrowland in Florida. Its initial concept was going to be xenomorph.
Right.
Like it was going to be a xenomorph attacking you, and obviously it changed because it's licensing and stuff, and it's just made more sense to make up your own alien.
Here's what I want. Let's say if not the Nostromo, you take this thing. So, what else did 20th Century Fox make? Home Alone. You make it the McAllister residence.
In Tomorrowland or somewhere else? Where we
Somewhere else. I don't care.
put it in California Adventure in the weird Hollywood Studios
Yeah,
thing.
you put it behind that California Adventure paywall.
Yeah, and it's just a big fun house of booby traps that you're going through.
Yes.
It's all foam rubber and stuff, but you're getting hit with paint cans.
Yeah, you're trying to murder the wet bandits.
Yeah. Um, or have it be like the Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters or the Toy Story Midway Mania, where it's like you're just in a car and you're playing a video game where you're messing with the wet bandits in
Yes.
the McAllister house,
Yes.
or the uncle's house in Ghost in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Get on it, Disneyland.
I mean, there's a persistent rumor of them bringing the Tron ride that's being built in Florida and exists in Shanghai, I think,
Mm-hmm.
to Disneyland.
Is it just a light cycle?
It's a high speed light cycle roller coaster.
Mm.
You sit down on it just like the Tron Legacy light cycles, and you're actually like on a roller coaster on your belly kind of thing, and kind of zipping through.
Can you buy discs?
I would assume so. If they open that ride, they will sell discs, almost 100%.
If they open that ride, you will buy whatever Tron merch they sell.
Oh, you kidding me? When Tron Legacy came out, they released all of the identity discs from that movie, and I still have all 3 of those. I have the blue one, I have the red one, and I have the very rare Jeff Bridges white one. So now, if they have a costumed, I was gonna say have a costumed Jeff Bridges walking around, but they just have real Jeff Bridges. Why not?
I'm just having there. When you said costume, I immediately thought that one dude
Yeah,
who built the Tron outfit, and
yeah.
it was
Tron guy,
tight,
earliest internet meme. Tron
yes,
guy.
yeah. It was like, oh no, why is it so tight there?
Ill-fitting.
Yes.
What's your favorite land at Disneyland?
I think it is probably Tomorrowland.
Tomorrowland.
Just kind of like Star Tours, and I like Space Mountain.
Yeah.
Woo.
Woo. I always like when they do the Ric Flair does the Space Mountain, and it's like oldest ride, longest line. I'm like, well, that's patently not true, but okay. It's
Yeah.
not the oldest ride there.
But it's a sizable line.
Yeah, it's still a sizable line, so he's got that part right.
But I mean, I do like. I don't know. It's tough to say given my how I feel because I also have a soft spot for pirates and the Haunted Mansion.
So yeah, I was gonna say I think one of my favorites is my favorite is I love Main Street USA. I absolutely just love Main
Yeah,
Street
yeah,
USA,
yeah.
and that's probably my favorite part of the park. But yeah, New Orleans Square. It's got a great aesthetic, and it's got my favorite rides there. So yeah, I have to give New Orleans Square the nod. Really.
I do like the Indiana Jones ride, so
Yeah. Yeah, the Indiana Jones ride is so good. It's funny because it's like so much of that ride is like broken, but it still does. But it didn't affect it in any way, shape, or form.
nah, it makes it feel like it's part of it.
Yeah. Did you ever ride it when the opening of that ride, when you first start off, was working? Because it used to be like a tray that would spin, but also the room moved. And
No,
it's like slid and stuff. Obviously, that's chaotic, and that part broke really early. But it used to be like randomized, like it would like the room would shift. So it wasn't so much like a platform that moved; it was the room that moved.
oh
So
no,
so you know how you always go through the center door? Those three
right?
doors used to be work functional. The room would move to put you through the right door. So like each one was its own special thing. Like that is eternal youth. That's the future. That's gold. And the room would rotate as you're entering it, so it would put you through the right room. But that broke long ago. So now you just keep going through the center door because
Did it always have Sala? The little video of him.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. John Rhys Davies telling you
Yeah.
about like you might die here.
I remember looking it up recently because they didn't get Indiana Jones. They didn't get Harrison Ford to reprise the role for various reasons. And I feel like enough time has passed to where you could just get cranky old Harrison Ford now to come in and record the lines for it. But
Yeah, it's like
the guy doesn't do a particularly good Indiana Jones impersonation.
no. It's well, like every time I've seen like those stage shows, Indiana Jones stage shows, like
Yeah.
in Orlando,
Yeah.
like could they not have gotten a guy that vaguely resembled Indiana Jones?
Yeah, like it's been going for decades and it's still just like the worst. Because remember in Full House where she thought it was like Steve.
Yeah.
Doing the thing. It's like, but they really did just cast a bunch of Steves to do that
Yeah.
role of Indiana Jones. So.
I was like, hey, you're a stunt man.
Yeah. We're glad to have finally seen that Indiana Jones stunt show, but like,
yeah. But it also it helps that I love the Indiana Jones films.
Yeah.
I think my bias is clouded by like what movies I like because I love Star Wars, I love Indiana Jones, and I like the first two Pirates.
Yeah, Adventureland has this advantage where it's only got 3 like rides or like it's got like 4 attractions and 3 of them are exceptionally good. Because I love the Enchanted Tiki Room. Yep. Absolutely love the Enchanted Tiki Room, and it has ice cream. Like you can't lose there. Yeah. You get to see birds where the birds sing words and the flowers croon, and you get Dole Whip. Fantastic.
Our old friend Thurl Ravenscroft is in there.
And they've recently expanded on it, so when you exit the Tiki Room, there's also the like the Tahitian Terrace or whatever, and it's got even more ice cream options. Last time I was there, I got a Dole Whip, but it was Dole Whip swirled with mango whip, and it was fantastic. And you have the Jungle Cruise, which is an all-time classic.
An upcoming movie starring The Rock.
The Rock, yeah. And, that's an opening day attraction too. It's one of the best that they have there. You have Indiana Jones, which is just a spectacular ride from start to finish. You have the Tarzan Treehouse, which is the one bleak spot on the roster for various reasons. A, it's exercise, and I'm already doing enough exercise here. B, it has Phil Collins music. And at least I would much prefer having it just still be the Swiss Family Treehouse. It still is the Swiss Family Treehouse in Florida. So,
on that note,
or as a particular favorite podcast of mine calls it, Window to the Magic, the Swiss Family Stairmaster.
On that note, what ride do you miss the most, or what attraction or ride do you miss the most?
Country Bear Jamboree.
Yeah,
I miss the Country Bears.
I'm going to go with 20,000 Leagues.
The original, like the original submarine voyage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the original submarine voyage is great. I do love that one, but yeah, Country Bears was just love that. Love Country Bears so much.
Yeah.
Uh, I can't really think of anything else that's sort of gone that I would, other than like those two things in particular. Like, yeah, I can't really think of anything else.
Or
Really.
that's changed that you didn't, because I know, because at some point, like in my case, 20,000 Leagues became the Nemo ride,
Yeah, that sucks.
and it was.
Yeah. That ride's better in Florida because it's not submarine based, it's just sort of ride car based, and the end of it takes place in an underground aquarium, so there's real fish swimming around and stuff. And
Mhm.
it exits into an aquarium, which, as I've established early on in this particular episode, that I love aquariums. So that was very exciting for me because I did not know that. And when I get off that ride, I'm like, well, that was just a submarine voyage, just kind of, covered up differently. And then you get out, and it's like, aquarium.
So I don't think I've told you this before, but I've never been on the teacups.
Yeah, I haven't been on the teacups in a significant amount of time. Mostly because I tend to either travel alone or with one other person, one of my parents.
Yeah.
It's been at least 13 years since we've done a 3-person trip because I don't think
Mhm.
no less than that, probably 10 years, like, because the dogs that we have now, we don't want to put them on a plane, and we really don't want to drive to Florida, but we did a few times with these dogs.
Right.
So whenever there was last time I would have rode the teacups was when I was down there and there was an earthquake.
Oh, fun.
So I remember that.
Uh, I don't. It's like I don't know how my children will respond to it, and it's just like, and I'm like again a grown man, like wee the teacups.
Yeah, it's only really fun with another person because it's like a lot of carnival rides, like the Zipper or something, where you just like the goal of the ride is to just make it as hellacious as possible for the other person,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of what the teacups are like. Like the strongest one is the one that controls this ride, and I have some bad news. I'm probably going to be the strongest one in this teacup. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Sorry, child.
yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I can't think of. Let's see. Everything, because like everything that I like, with the exception of Country Bears, is like I don't like the Winnie the Pooh ride that much.
Oh,
I
yeah, that one's fine.
Yeah, but it replaced the Country Bears, and that bums me out. Um,
Do you wish it would be the blue ribbon again?
the Blue Ribbon Bakery down on,
Yeah.
yeah, I would like that because I liked its location really well. It was where the Carnation Cafe is, but it was like it's where the indoor seating of the Carnation Cafe is, as
Yeah,
opposed
but
to
it had different food.
it did have different foods. I remember the Matterhorn macaroons and like really good sandwiches and stuff, like different than what they have there. And
I remember having like just the best Mickey cookie there.
the chocolate chip cookies they make at Disneyland are actually still very good.
Yes, they
And
are.
the bakery at the end of Main Street is still makes them, and they're still great. Just like the cinnamon rolls are different now than they used to be. They're not as good as they used to be, but they're still great cinnamon rolls.
Ice cream's okay. I think it's just Dryer's ice cream.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, it's yeah,
But they put a fresh cookie in a lot of them. It was like, hey, here's a fresh baked cookie inside the ice cream. Like,
yeah.
yep.
But like but at the same time, like especially now with like the mobile ordering and stuff, um, if I'm gonna get ice cream, why not just get a Dole Whip at this point now?
Right.
It used to be like both of those have like both ice cream places, the Dole place and the Carnation, not Carnation. I forget what it is.
I
It used to be
don't.
yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
ice cream parlor or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like they both have huge lines because everyone loves ice cream.
Yeah.
Um,
And again, you go to Disneyland and eat.
yeah, and well, uh, if you ask my parents, the coffee was better before Starbucks came in and ruined everything.
Well,
Because like the Blue
I,
Ribbon Bakery made like great mochas and stuff. So
I,
stuff.
I will tell you though, as somebody who worked at Starbucks, yeah, coffee's not that great. Just a regular coffee, yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah.
And also, if you're gonna go get Starbucks coffee, just go to downtown Disney. The lines, it's actually a Black Apron Starbucks.
Yeah.
So if you want your fancy coffee there, that's where you would go. And I kind of like downtown Disney. There's not a ton to do,
Yeah,
but
but
it
there's
has
enough.
that one appeal for me:
Lego store.
the Lego store.
The Lego store.
Yeah,
Yes, great
that's a
Lego
good
store.
Lego store.
That's a good Lego store. Um, it used to have a movie theater. It
Hmm.
bums me out that it's not there anymore. They closed it because Disney was going to put hotel in there, and then the city of Anaheim got angry at them, and they shut down that whole process. Then a bunch of this stuff closed at the Disneyland hotel side of um,
Downtown Disney.
downtown Disney, and now it's just sort of like the Earl of Sandwich reopened. So,
Right.
but that's
The
ESPN Zone.
oh my
Uh,
god, the worst French dip I've ever had in my entire life.
I think I got
How do you
French.
mess up a French dip?
I think I got French fries at the ESPN Zone, and it was just they're like soggy and gross. And I'm like, why would anyone ever come here? Like, it's a better, it's an okay arcade. It's not even a
Yeah.
great arcade. I'm like, but the Rainforest Cafe was there. The one of the worst restaurant going experiences of my life.
Some say that gorilla is still screaming.
So God, just like, oh yeah, and that theater. I'm trying to think of what movies I saw at that theater. I saw X-Men 2.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that X-Files movie, that second X-Files movie.
The bad one.
The bad one, I Want to Believe? Is that what it was? Or
Right.
was that what they... Oh, Fight the Future was what they rebranded the original X-Men. That's right.
Yeah, Fire the Future was the first one, which is a good movie.
I saw The Dark Knight there
Hmm.
as well. I saw those the same day. I saw the X-Files and The Dark Knight the same day.
Is Hard Rock still open?
No, it's now Splitsville. It is a bowling alley / restaurant with a ice cream parlor attached to the end. I think it's one of those. I think the ice cream parlor that's attached to it is the one that The Rock invested in, that Salt and Spoon or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, now I know now I know it's a bowling alley. I'm going to check that out next time I go.
Bowling alley, yeah.
I'm a big.
It moved. It's like I think it might have moved to the block or something, like the block of Orange that's just down the road a bit or something. It moved that it was the Blues Kitchen.
Yes. Yeah.
The Dan Aykroyd restaurant.
Yeah, it was the Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
And he's just going to sit
House of Blues. There we go. House of Blues.
Yes.
That's what it was.
Yeah. Dan Aykroyd's going to show up to your table and tell you about his paranormal experience he had when he was 13.
There was a hard. Was there a Hard Rock Cafe there?
You know what? I might be thinking of
Universal City Walk.
City Walk.
Yeah.
City Walk, which has it's Hard Rock and the Bubba Gumps.
Yeah.
And a pretty decent comic shop, actually. Which
I've been to the Block of Orange one time, and I always intend to go back when I do a trip, but then I just get so focused on the resort that I never go back. So that's on me.
Because I remember being a bookshop in downtown Disney too.
There was a really good. It was called Compass. I remember.
Yeah.
I got several books from there. A lot of Disney books and some comic books. I got some graphic novels from there in the past.
I think that's the store where the Disney themed kitchen collection is, kitchen accessory things.
No, Compass is. I think right now it's like what used to be the bookstore now is like a Disney Vacation Club center or something because it's next to the theater.
Okay.
I think the kitchen one there used to be a like Hollywood like memorabilia shop or something.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. There used to be a Build-A-Bear and stuff like that down there. It's not there anymore.
Yeah, it's
there's that big VR thing that's down there now.
Yeah, well, when you and I were there, we thought it's like, hey, you want to try the sweaty headset that
and be in Star Wars? I'm like, nah, not really.
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Come on, man. We wiped it down with a moist towelette.
Yeah, it's like at least 20% alcohol. It should be fine.
Yeah, it's okay. But no thanks. We're gonna go buy a Wetzel pretzel.
Yeah, that's if you want my God's honest truth. my favorite food to eat while I'm at Disneyland is just to go to the Wetzel's Pretzels.
That's where we went. Remember, we were.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
it's a good
Uh,
pretzel.
have you ever stayed at any of the Disneyland hotels?
No,
I've
no, it
stayed
was.
at.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
I,
on the to do list.
I've stayed at all three. Um, Obviously, the Grand Californian is sort of like the. It's. I don't think it's the better hotel,
Mm-hmm.
but it's got more conveniences to it. I mean, it dumps you directly into the park. Um, there's a back entrance that dumps you into the right just in front of the Grizzly River Run.
Did you pay
And
extra for the character themed breakfast?
uh, once, yes.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that I was a teenager basically through most of my experiences going to Disneyland. So to be, especially if it's like a family thing, it's like, yes, my parents are 40 and I am 17 years old, and we would like to have the Goofy's Kitchen experience, please. Thank you. Uh,
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. Disneyland Hotel is a great hotel. I haven't been there since sort of haven't been inside sort of since the remodeling.
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember it's just a nice hotel with a lot of amenities. When we originally stayed there, it was back when they still had the little remote controlled boats that you could drive around.
Hmm.
It had the koi pond and like the really cool waterfalls that used to be outside of one of the towers that you could walk behind and around, and it was very nice. And they used to have a late night like music show like on the back wall where it was
Mm-hmm.
like sort of like their own, like, I forget what it's called now, but it was like World of Color
Okay.
kind of thing. But it was just like they just played music, and this little wall had little panels on it, and they would just shine lights on them and make it sort of dance and sync and stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah.
It's a little more toned down these days, but it has really cool pool area with like the monorail slide, and like there's like the tiki bar and stuff like that. So the Paradise Pier Hotel is just a really nice hotel. It's the cheapest of the three, I think,
Mm-hmm.
still. But I remember going there and remembering it being the friendliest of the three. I don't know. I just remember, like, yeah, man, they're just really on the ball, like at all times there. So yeah.
Yeah, it's. I've always gone to Disneyland on a budget, or mostly, and it's like we're staying at the Tropicana across the street.
I tend, if I'm going alone, which I am want to do, just have like spur of the moment trips and go alone. I'll just stay at like a DoubleTree or
Mm-hmm.
you know Best Western or something like that. Usually with an amenity nearby and quick, like either walking distance or take the art or whatever.
Right.
If I go with my mom, I have she's you need to stay at a more higher end thing, so it's usually like the Marriott or the Hilton with her. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
It's that Tropicana is right next to the worst Denny's I've ever been to, and of course, right there is good old Captain Cook.
Captain
Cooking
Kids.
Kid, which
Yeah.
I've never eaten at, but I've just heard stories.
One of the first trips I ever took down there, I remember the like tram guys saying like, "Hey, don't eat there. Period."
The guy in
Yeah.
the art, or the Big Disneyland Tram guy?
Before it was pre-art, so
Oh.
it really was like at the time it was just like actual like trolleys that
Right.
like zipped around the Anaheim Resort area.
It's like he just told you everybody in the train, or just you guys?
No, pretty much everyone is like, pretty much like over there. It's like, across the street is the Captain Kids. Just don't eat there.
The reviews for that place are just something.
So if you ever have the opportunity, go to Yelp and look up Captain Kids Buffet in Anaheim. Oh man.
Yeah.
The hotel that I stayed at, I can't remember which one it was, but was next to the other Denny's down there, and it's an exponentially better Denny's than the one that's next to the Tropicana. Last time I was down there, I stayed at the hotel that was next to the Shakey's Pizza, and I love Shakey's Pizza was the pizza joint of choice as a child.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to go to Disneyland and every once in a while still be able to go to a Shakey's, it's cool for me.
Yes, and to take in the abject poverty across the street from Disneyland. that is the only part of it that kind of you're like, man.
Yeah, this was. Well, it's funny because like when that when Disneyland went in there, it was still just farmlands. Disneyland just built itself on top of
Just
bought a bunch of
orange grove.
property from orange groves and stuff.
Yeah,
And it's funny because like it by expanding that way and making other people come in, like it brought the poverty to Anaheim as opposed to like like the Walmart situation or something where it's like it sort of creates the poverty. Like it
hmm,
created poverty in a completely different way than
right,
most places do because it made a lot of people move there, but made it too expensive for people to want to be able to exist there.
right.
And it just sort of like so it's like there's a very defined line down there, and it's depressing and like yeah. Like you can hardly blame Disney for it, but at the same time you have to blame Disney for it because I mean they exist there, and
Yeah,
it's this massive franchise, and there's kind of nothing you can do about that. Um,
right.
Too many people throughout the years tried to, hitch their pony to Disneyland and try to make a buck off of being in that area, and just
Yeah, it's not.
never worked.
Yeah,
You know,
uh,
like hotels, like Disneyland in that sort of the sort of outlining area of Disneyland has sort of been the same for so long. Like
yeah.
it's
Or-
funny to think about
Orange
it.
County in general. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that sort of like Ball Road area of
Hmm.
Disneyland has gone unchanged. Like all the change that's happened inside the park, it's sort of a time capsule outside because pretty much very few hotels have changed down there. Very few like businesses, like they've just changed from like ownership or whatever. They
Yep.
really haven't changed what they're doing. It's just very interesting down there. What like you would think that the Anaheim area would just like have been able to take advantage of Disneyland being there, but the only people that have are hotels, really. So
Yeah. I mean, I've stayed. Not it was a trip a little while ago, but like we went to because I'm an Anaheim Ducks fan, so we
yeah,
stayed. Okay. We're gonna do it. We're gonna go see a Ducks game. We're going to Disneyland. So we stayed across from the Honda Center, and dude, on that stretch of road, it's just hotels, and that's not even close to Disneyland. Just
yeah,
but it's Disneyland adjacent.
yeah. It's so funny when you're trying to just find like I want to find the cheapest hotel to stay at. I just want to have a trip and whatever like the cheapest one, and then try to decipher what they're trying to say sometimes. Because being 2 blocks from Disneyland doesn't necessarily mean you're 2 blocks away from getting into Disneyland.
No,
Because it's maybe 2 blocks to Disneyland, but that could be 5 miles from the main entrance.
right.
You know, there's only a couple of entrances to get into those theme parks, and really only one if you really break it down. Like it's really hard to get into. So if you're on the backside of Disneyland, it's a significant amount of time until you're at the main entrance of that park.
Yeah.
So like you have to really learn the language of. You have to look for like the words main gate and
Right.
stuff when you're
They're just
booking
like
those
five
trips.
Disneyland.
Yeah.
So I mean, even though like the cost of living is kind of difficult down there, I gotta say, man, dude, everybody who works in that park just brings their A game.
Yeah.
It's
And it's funny because we know that they're not the best when it comes to treating the employees and giving them what they deserve.
right.
Um, but they also have the advantage of being like having a very cult of personality kind of thing. Like the people that are there want to be there for the most
Yep.
part, especially if they're on stage, as you would say.
Right.
The people that are guest facing
Yeah.
tend to really and like you have a bunch of old people working the ticket booths, which is nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, even like there's a podcast and a nice audiobook called Cleaning the Kingdom,
Hmm.
which I recommend, which comes from which is a bunch of stories told from a retired senior sanitation professional, a janitor,
Yeah.
at Disneyland, and it's very fascinating to hear like a lot of that stuff. Like even the janitors, like have made a way of making it sort of enjoyable. um, and for something that's not really an enjoyable job. So
It,
it's a
yeah,
because
it,
it's a club. It's a club, and all of these like and there's cliques and stuff inside of there and stuff.
sure,
And you have to it's probably a rare it's a lot of high schoolers' first jobs down there.
sure,
So
yeah.
yeah,
But it's like
but
it's cool to say, hey, I worked at Disneyland.
yeah, yeah, and it's like and especially if you're a local, being being an employee of Disneyland really gets you like, hey, we could just I got some guest passes, we can come in and have some lunch together,
Yeah,
and it's a good if you're a season pass holder living in Southern California, it's where you go to eat. It's
yeah,
it's because I why not? I can go there. It's not gonna cost me anything to get to the gate. It's gonna be a little more expensive than usual for a typical dinner, but still.
you're gonna have a good meal. Yeah,
Yeah, and if you're a cast member, yeah, you get your discount. So
but yeah, it. I've always been kind of like, man, these people are like, because it's got to be tough, but they do their best. So
they do their best, and it's difficult because like you're dealing with a lot of like finicky people and a lot of people that it's like it's 95 degrees. I'm with two 6 year olds. I've been standing in line without any cover.
it cost me $300 to walk in the door.
Yeah, this whole trip is going to cost me like 10 grand. I'm and you're dealing with those people that are probably getting a little edgy. They don't.
Yeah,
A lot of them probably don't mean well. It's there, there's the Karens of the world, as we say,
sure, sure.
that are going to cause problems. But in this case, a lot of them do a really good job at just sort of like putting on a show and
Do
not
you
breaking character.
do you know my favorite little Disneyland fact? I don't know if you told me or I just remember reading it years ago. Is that Disneyland is neutral gang territory?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Which is funny because it's not. Disneyland right now is plagued because there was gang violence in like the 70s at Disneyland.
Hmm.
But now there's weird gang violence because there are like gangs with inside of Disneyland that are all Disney gangs and they're all land based and they do not get along anymore. Like there's been fights and stuff breaking down and like you can go in there and you can see them. They all have like the biker jackets and stuff and
Hmm.
they're like all attraction based and like land based and stuff. And so like there's weird cliques and gang warfare kind of going on inside the parks. It's not like particularly violent, but there have been like fights, and it's weird right now with that stuff. But
That's a weird thing because remember the thing you sent me about Videopolis. That's what they were worried about. Like, oh, it's going to
yeah,
be, and there it was like the clean cut one, and then you go back to like the Six Flags one, which is like the low income kids used to go to that club.
yeah. Defunct Land did I think that was the video I sent you was
Yeah.
Defunct Land's Videopolis. They recently remastered that video and added some more stuff to it
Okay.
for the Videopolis stuff, and it still has one of the uh, like one of the things like somebody was complaining. It was like a newspaper article or
Hmm.
something at the time that was complaining about Videopolis and sort of its degeneracy and everything, and one of the phrases was homosexual fast dancing,
Oh my
which is
god.
one of the it is
Oh,
that phrase
that's it.
is apps is like it's so absurd that I think he ended up making like a Videopolis parody shirt that was like the Videopolis logo and
Yeah.
everything that said "Let's go homosexual fast dancing" because it's just the most absurd. Like, what does that even? What
Because
is that?
some super uptight conservative person was like,
Yeah,
oh,
some
can you
yeah some
believe these people are dancing with each other? Like,
yeah, and there are a lot
yeah,
of rules
it's
and stuff.
fine.
Yeah,
It's fine.
yeah, but
It's,
yeah, that's boy, we're gonna have some fun when it comes to like breaking down some of this stuff
yeah.
thing by thing. I think what I explained to you, I think I showed you a year ago at this point, my sort of breakdown of how
Mhm.
it's gonna work, and so Disneyland can be really well defined in certain eras and like time frames and stuff, and so like part one. Which will last a few weeks or whatever, maybe. I don't really know how it's going to break down once we start getting into the talking of stuff,
Sure.
but the volume one of season two will be um, cut up into different parts, and it'll be from like grand opening to 59. uh, So the early years. And the reason why it goes to 59 is because 59 is what Walt considered the second grand opening. It's because it's when they expanded out. It's when like the Matterhorn went in, and a lot of like what you consider to be what Disneyland
Hmm.
is sort of what 59 is when that really started coming to be.
Right.
What like the final vision of Disneyland. Um, sort of like what like it may have expanded, but 59 is where Disneyland sort of became what you expect it to be now.
Your
Um,
idea of Disneyland.
yeah, the idealization of Disneyland for Walt, and that'll go from 59 to his death, um, and then you're gonna have sort of like his post-death stuff where people are scrambling around and like and it's a weird era. And I can't decide if I want to have it to do that because not a lot happened during that time frame, but a lot
Mhm.
happened during the Eisner era. So I feel like I'm either going to do death through Eisner or death to Eisner. Um,
Oh no,
yeah. So
Death Eisner.
yeah, it's probably going to be from Walt's death to Michael Eisner, and
Right.
then from Eisner to Iger. Um, it's like Iger to present, whatever that may
And they
be.
just the parks just got a new
Yeah.
frontman. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that Jason, he was sort of like in charge of Disneyland up until very recently, and
Yeah.
nobody has a bad thing to say about him. People actually like, in terms of people in charge at Disney, like he's one of the ones that people actually sort of like and trust. Like
Hmm.
if he's going to be overseeing the theme parks as a whole, people have confidence in that, as opposed to Iger or some of the other people in charge and stuff. So we'll see. We'll see what the future holds for that once they reopen.
Which could, who knows? Who knows?
As of recording of this, Disney World is set to reopen very, very soon, um, with some restrictions. Not Disney World, Universal, um, with some restrictions, and it's probably going to be the, you know, launch for other theme parks to start opening. I
Sure.
feel like Disneyland will probably be the last to open because I think
Sure.
California is going to be much more stickler for what they're going. Florida, Disney and Universal will give them what we're going to do, and they're just going to say, "All right." And
Well, yes, without getting too far into politics,
yeah,
yes, there is going to be a vast difference between how Florida does it and how our state does it.
yeah, how California handles it.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I think Disneyland has a steeper mountain to climb than Disney World does. Um, but uh, I suspect it'll still be this year.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm going to say fall.
yeah, I was thinking fallish, Christmas season.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so that's usually when Disney's like summer and Christmas are when they're at their busiest. So
Right. Yeah.
um,
It just the hesitation to be the mayor from Jaws.
yeah,
Yes.
yes. I mean, yeah. Um, I always tend to go to Disney during the fall, which is why I
Mhm.
went in February this year, because I kind of wanted to miss the Christmas season because I always see the Christmas season, and I love the Christmas season at Disneyland. It's gorgeous, with the decorations and sort of the theming and stuff. But
Mhm.
I also get really tired of seeing Nightmare Before Christmas Haunted Mansion as well.
Yeah. Uh,
I like it, but I just want to see the normal Haunted Mansion, man. And last time I took
also
the trip, the Haunted Mansion wasn't even open, so yeah, great.
not before Christmas. Take or leave it.
Yeah,
Take or
uh,
leave it.
but yeah, I like Disneyland during Christmas. Uh, Disney World doesn't do that because it doesn't do like the Haunted Mansion stuff. I heard because it's more of a tourist spot than Disneyland. Disneyland is definitely a tourist spot, but they cater towards annual pass holders a lot,
Right.
and it helps keep annual pass holders engaged when you change things up and make things annual and
Mhm.
seasonal and stuff. Whereas Disney World, it's more expensive, and it's more of like we saved up all year to take this trip, or we saved up for 5 years to take this trip, or whatever. You want to see it as it's supposed to be, and so they don't change any of the rides
Yeah.
seasonally for that
It needs to
reason.
be evergreen, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah, exactly. So that's apparently why things like It's a Small World Holiday and Nightmare Before Christmas Haunted Mansion and Jingle Cruise don't happen at Florida. So
Yeah.
that's I think that's reasonable. I think that's a reasonable thing. I understand that logic significantly. Because I don't think I think annual pass holders in Florida is like exponentially less than California. Because California is like where Disneyland is like where people can live.
Right.
Like it's like you're not that like even if it's like L.A. or something, it's it's still not that far away
Right.
from Disneyland. But like Florida and the Florida resort is so big and it sort of like exists in its own bubble that being an annual pass holder and going in there is kind of a hassle.
Yeah. It's
Like I couldn't imagine like when I was there, I just was by myself. I stayed at a decent hotel on property that had boats that could take me to Epcot or the I forget what I always want to call them the MGM Studios, but it's not that anymore. I think it's just Hollywood Studios now.
You want to see a taping of WCW Worldwide?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turns out, haven't been taping that there for decades.
Huh. Crazy.
Who'd have guessed?
Yeah.
But also like the buses are running and stuff. But like having a car and like you just can't do anything on a whim. If you want to go to Disney Springs, it's not just like all right, let's go to Disney Springs. It's like you're about once you make that decision, you're about 45 minutes away from getting to Disney Springs.
Right.
And if you're like at one of the theme parks and you make the decision that you want to go to like something like that, it's like, okay, now I gotta wait. I gotta get on the bus that's going to take me to here, and from there I'm gonna go to or take the monorail around town or whatever. It's kind of a hassle. Like, Disneyland has the monorail, but it only does two things. It goes to Tomorrowland, and it goes to a weird spot in downtown Disney.
Right.
The monorail used to drop you off at the Disneyland Hotel.
Well, it's also difficult because okay, so you have Disney World,
Yeah,
and SeaWorld, and Universal Studios,
yeah.
all within Orlando.
Yeah.
Now, yes, Universal Studios and Universal is not that close to Disneyland, I would say.
It's actually closer than I thought. When I was down there, I was like, well, I'm here. I may never come back here. I don't know. I'm not really enjoying myself right now because the weather is not built for me. It was like, it was September. It was both incredibly wet and incredibly hot and incredibly humid all at once with hurricane warnings at all times. It was not a great experience emotionally, but like I liked being there.
Right.
But I was like, this may be my one shot. I'm going to go to Universal. And like the Uber ride was only $20.
Right.
So it wasn't that long. It was, it was like 20-minute ride away. It's not that long. So it's longer to get to Universal from Disneyland to Universal. Yeah.
I mean, I think the closest park, because that's where Disneyland has the advantage. Like, I think the closest park is actually Knott's.
Knott's, and it's not that far away. Knott's, you can get there if you can take the ART to Knott's.
Yes, you get to Knott's.
Yeah.
And Knott's is a different experience at Disneyland. It's a whole different experience.
Yeah.
Do you like the peanuts? Yes, I do. Do you want to go to Snoopy's lunch or Lucy's lunch shack and have a PB&J?
Yeah. You go to Knott's. If you're gonna go to Knott's to eat, you're going there because you're going to the chicken restaurant. That's
it's overrated chicken. I'm sorry, it's just not that good.
You're making yourself a lot of enemies.
Look, man. It's fine. It's fine. I'll say that it's fine. But like, it's like this chicken's gonna change your life. Like,
That's the first place I ever had a Shirley Temple.
Well.
I don't know. That's a weird factoid, but I like Shirley Temples. It's just grenadine with 7-Up or whatever. But
also some chicken.
Yeah, but like, I ever go in there and it's like, what the hell? Like, what the hell's a Shirley Temple? I'm like, well, it's grenadine and 7-Up. I'm like, I don't know what grenadine is. It's like a cherryish syrup. Like, oh, okay, yeah, it sounds delicious. Give me that.
I had a pretty good dessert at that restaurant though.
Nice.
But yeah, it's I don't know.
One of my favorite at Disneyland. They have those slushes.
Yeah.
You can get, and a couple of the stands sell frozen apple juice.
Oh.
And it's one of my go-to things. The frozen apple juice and the I forget what they call it now, but there's a slush in Adventureland too.
Okay.
That is very, very, very good. It's like a grape, orangey, citrusy slush. I love a good slush. I like a Slurpee, a icy, a slush
Yep.
puppy. Uh,
Yeah.
I,
I'm,
I
I'm
own
good.
I own a slush maker, so
Yeah.
I like a good slush.
You have a functioning Snoopy snow cone machine.
Yes, one of 3 in existence that actually work.
Yeah.
Me,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Schultz had one, but it's in a museum now.
yeah, it's I forget where the Peanuts Museum is of Northern California. I think somewhere.
Yeah, but
Uh,
yeah. Okay, we're just gonna we're gonna end it with saying right now our like number 1 favorite attraction at Disneyland.
okay, I'll
What's
let you go
yours?
first. Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Boy, uh, it's it's tough because I think we kind of California Rangers as well.
Yeah, the entire resort.
Man, a year ago I would have said 100% Indiana Jones. I think it's World of Color now.
Roll the color, beautiful.
Yeah,
That's it's yeah, I love World of Color, so good. Can't go argue with that.
yeah,
Um, Mine always has been and always will be the Disneyland Railroad.
yeah,
I love the railroad. It's relaxing. It's very cool. If you just want to, when you're tired, just
yeah,
get on that train and do the Grand Circle tour a couple of times, and it'll revitalize you. You'll
yeah.
feel better for it. And there's stuff to see. There's good views. There's the dioramas and stuff. There's like the Grand Canyon and prehistoric times, prehistoric world.
Yes,
Um,
I love the dinosaurs in there.
the dinosaurs in that are so good. Um, and it's also a great segue because the history of Disneyland is intrinsically tied to to trains.
Waltz love
Uh,
trains.
Walt's love of trains, and Disneyland probably wouldn't exist if that love of trains didn't bloom into something uh, beyond his his backyard.
Yeah,
So when we finally get into season 2 of this show, that's what it's going to start really with trains,
right.
because trains is where the idea unclear really. You can ask 100 Disneyland historians and get 100 different answers as to where the idea of Disneyland came from Walt. Because some people will tell you it came from his youth, some will tell you it came from working at the studio and wanting to create a park across the street. Some will say like, well, it's this, it's that. Regardless of where the actual germ of the idea came from, once Walt got into trains, it was full steam ahead.
Right.
To be as punny as possible.
Yes.
And that's where the story will start. What Disneyland's original concept was, in terms with trains involved, and forward. And that's where it's going to be. And I feel like that'll be an exciting. It's not exciting, but it's a fun story. It's fun to
Yeah.
see a human being so absorbed into something what seems so like silly. And it's fun. It's the story of trains and Walt and the history of all that is incredibly fun.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's entirely silly. If you have a hobby that you're passionate
Yeah.
about, yeah, you know,
I mean, this is a grown man that built a railroad in his backyard.
yeah.
He had
It
to
inspired that Donald Duck cartoon, which
he had to sign a contract with his wife that he wouldn't tear up her garden and that he was going to make a tunnel under her garden for his toy train. And yeah, I think that'll be fun. I think that's where that's months away at this
right.
point. But we're barreling. We're at next time you hear from us, we'll be talking about Chicken Little, and there's only a handful of Disney movies left at that point.
Yeah, because we're at Frozen 2 right now. So
yeah, and the way the movie industry is going right now, who knows?
yeah.
When the next Disney theatrical release could be next week to Disney Plus. It could be 2 years from now. We don't know.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at now. But Frozen 2, Chicken Little of Frozen 2 was only like a decade. So,
Right.
so it'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting.
It's a lot to slog through, but we'll get there.
We're towards the end of the slog at this point. We're about to be
Mm,
hitting the gold again, and pretty much once you hit Princess and the Frog, everything's pretty good fare from there on
yep,
out, with
I agree.
varying degrees of good. Like the worst movie of that run is still better than pretty much anything that we've been watching in recent times.
Yeah.
So yeah, can't wait. So yeah, next time you hear from us, it'll be Chicken Little. Hopefully next week. I'm getting my energy back, despite not really leaving the house very much. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited for it. Just really be super critical of a movie for children is always fun. So
Yeah. It's sometimes it's our most fun episode. Just let's just dunk on this movie.
yeah,
Other times it's like I feel depressed.
yeah. Home on the Range was not fun for either of us.
We hate. Yeah.
We hated the movie, and it wasn't even a fun episode. Like
Yeah.
I listened back to it, and I'm like, boy, it's just you can sense our desperation in it. It was a bad time.
Yeah.
Chicken Little is a little more fun to make fun of because it's a little sillier,
Yeah.
and at least it's a story.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, it's been so long since we've seen Chicken Little that we're going to both have to watch it again, which not ideal, but
No.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Nick, I was
yeah.
glad to have you back.
Oh man,
I was glad to have
glad.
this chat again.
It's glad. It's fun reconnecting.
Yeah.
Even though
Yeah.
we text all the time, it's still.
We talk all the time, mostly about the cool breakfast cereal or action figures that we saw,
Yes.
but that's still communication. That's still
But
keeping
still,
us.
hey,
Yeah.
we if there wasn't already a breakfast cereal podcast,
Yeah.
I would say that'd be a thing we could do. But
Yeah. Did you see the Frosted Flakes Fruit Loops combo cereal that's coming out?
I did, and I was like, boy, I don't feel like those two things would mesh well.
I don't know either, but sure as ever that I'm going to get it when I see it.
It's like I just want one. They each have their own distinct taste,
Yeah.
and if I'm eating one of them, I just want that flavor in my mouth.
This sounds terrible. Give it to me.
Yes. Well, the
that
hell.
was my reaction to the Sour Patch Kids cereal.
Yeah.
Oh, this sounds disgusting, and it's already at the Big Lots, which means it's discontinued.
Yeah.
And it's only been like 4 months, so let's go to town on this. And the worst cereal I've ever had in my entire life. Did you ever try it?
No, but I did have nerd cereal back in the day.
Oh yeah. You know what the worst part about the Sour Patch Kids cereal was?
Hmm.
The milk.
Oh.
If you ate it as a cereal, it's a step away from curdling the milk. It made the milk sour and gross. It was actually like as a dry cereal. If you ate it as a snack, not that bad.
Yeah.
But they actually recreated Sour Patch Kids, and made them sour, which with like the such sour coating on the outside, like you know how you know your typical cereal has like that sugary coating.
Sure.
That's just like a generic sugar coating. They want to say it's frosting, but or whatever.
The front side for the kid in me, the other
Yeah.
side for the adult.
Yeah, but they did that same thing except it was sour. And once that gets in the milk and the milk starts washing it off, I love cereal milk, man. There is never a bowl of cereal where that milk isn't finished off for me. But no, that went right down the drain.
I will give everybody my cereal pro tip. If you, like JJ and I, are afraid of like weird novelty cereals that were only in the market for a little bit,
Yeah.
but they'll still keep. You want to hit up your local grocery outlet if you have one nearby.
Yeah.
Because that is where you find like $1 Oreo cereal.
Yeah, what was it? I was just there and they had for $1.50 you could get a box of Nutter Butter cereal.
Yeah.
And that's a really good cereal.
That's a delicious cereal.
Yeah. Grocery outlet and Big Lots. If
Yeah.
you want a discontinued decent cereals,
Which are still they're still fine.
they're still fine as
They're
long
a
as
little bit close to expiration though.
Yeah, either close or like even a little after. It's fine. As long as that bag is still sealed, you're good. Yeah.
So that's our pro tip.
Yeah.
Grocery outlet, Big Lots.
Yeah. So that's the Empty Bowl podcast with Justin McElroy.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, no, that's gonna wrap it up. Can't wait. Chicken Little next episode.
Yep.
And coming shortly, season 2. Disney Disneyland and adjoining theme parks.
Yeah,
So
and you might have other people on besides this guy.
yeah, so that's a hope. I feel like Disneyland is a much more tactile
Yeah,
thing. It's as much as there is history to it. There's also a nice emotional history, and a lot of people
sure.
that go to it and go to other theme parks. Like I try to get somebody on here that went to Disneyland Paris.
Hmm.
Um, I might hit up. There's like I could probably get some people that are more famous than me. I feel like there's a chance in the podcast world. There's a couple of people I could probably actually get on this show if I asked, and I might. Who knows?
Chris Jericho?
Chris Jericho and Seth Rogen are both confirmed for
Uh,
season 2.
is he going to call us the Omaha
Unfortunately, that
State?
means if I have Joe Rogan, not Seth Rogen,
Yeah.
Joe Rogan on here, this show will only be listened on Spotify. So,
Sure, sure. So, yeah, we need to worry about Omaha Steaks and Alpha Brain. Good times.
but yeah, until then, thank you all for joining us, and have a magical day.